Good evening, this is BelGeode and we are back with some more X-Plane 11. So we are back here at Rostraver Airport, which I'm sure you will recognize as the very first airport that I created in WED here in X-Plane. I actually created it for X-Plane 10, but it works just fine in X-Plane 11. So, what are we doing here today is the real question. Well, I'm going to start by addressing the great blue elephant in the room. What you are looking at here is the BFDG version of the Embraer A29A Super Tucano. BFDG stands for Brazilian Fighter Development Group, and these guys really only have like two planes that I could find, and both of them are pretty much the same plane. It's the Tucano and the Super Tucano. Tucano, by the way, is, I don't remember if it's Spanish or Portuguese for Toucan, hence the long nose. So yeah, Toucan. But you may recognize this livery, however. This livery you've probably seen a couple of times if you have watched my FSX episodes, especially my more recent FSX episodes. This is, of course, the livery from the Navy variant of the Texan II. Essentially, the Tucano, Super Tucano, and the Texan all come from the same family. So what I did was I actually spent a few hours a couple of nights ago and tried to replicate the livery that I've been using in FSX for this aircraft. And I think it came out pretty cool. So we have the shark livery. The only thing I'm missing now is the tiger livery and, of course, alley to go with it. But we will not be going down that path today. I got something better in mind for you. All right, so I want to show you two things today. The first, of course, is this aircraft, which I think is really freaking cool. And then the second thing that I'm going to be showing you, I'm going to start by showing you in the cockpit, because that's where it's going to have the most impact. All right, so with this aircraft, the first thing that I can tell you about it is it does come with a little pop-up menu. Now you can't really see it on the left side of your screen there because OBS is cutting it off, but there's a little arrow pointing to the right that when I click on it, it opens up the pop-up menu. So this is what we have going for us here. Right now we've got the canopy open, the shields are out. The shields are these little armor plating that go on the side because this aircraft can be used in combat. And you may notice underneath it's got some pylons. Let's get a closer look here. There we go. We've got external, internal pylons and central pylon. You can hang weapons off of this, and you can, of course, use those weapons here in X-Plane. Same thing goes for drop tanks. If you need the extra gas, you can hang those off the internal pylons or the central pylon. You can hang them off the outboard pylon too, but with all that gas, I think you might be too heavy. But what we can do, since we're not needing any of that, is just simply take them off. So there we go. You'll also notice I have the front pilot out, which kind of makes sense because, well, I'm standing right next to the aircraft, so it would kind of be silly to look at a pilot in there if I'm standing out here. We also have oxygen masks in case we go over 10,000 feet, which we probably will not for this little test flight that I'm going to do on this episode, but I'm going to keep that on anyway. If we wanted to, we could cover everything up by putting the chocks and covers on. So you'll notice covers around the exhaust port, covers around the inlet, covers on the pitot tubes. This right here is for the cannon. By default, the cover automatically comes on regardless of whether or not you have the cannons installed, which kind of looks a little funky once we take it off there. And of course, you can see the wheel chocks. So there we go. No cannons, no cover. All right. Now, the other cool thing that we can add to this is a GPU. Ta-da! There we go. So we'll leave that plugged in for our startup sequence, which luckily the startup sequence for this aircraft is not that horrendous. It's not going to take me like an hour long like it did with the TFDI 717 in that FSX episode that I did. But that should be just about everything that we need from this menu for right now. We'll go over things like the earplugs later because they will come in really handy. And I should also caution you that I have no idea what this ZZZZ stuff is. Really don't know. Couldn't tell you. So there we go. All right, but let's do a quick walk around of our aircraft and make sure she is ship shape. Prop and spinner look good. You'll notice that this particular variant has 5 propeller blades as opposed to the Texan II having 4. And let me check the front gear. Okay, looks like we have enough air in the tires, and it looks like the landing lights are looking good, so there we go. All right, we got a landing light on the wing here, and I guess that's actually a taxi light over there. Leading edge looks good. Nav lights on the wingtips. And of course, we're going to need to check the ailerons. So, let me do my quick aileron test here. Okay, we got free motion there. Static wicks look good. Let's check this landing gear back here. Alright, I don't see any obvious brake leaks or anything, so yeah, we should be good there. I'm going to step over this cable and see if I can squeeze myself back here. And that way we can check out both the elevator and the rudder. Alright, so elevator test. Looking good, looking good. Rudder test. Also looking good. Very nice. Okay, let's head over to the other side. I gotta watch out for that taxi light there. I don't want to trip on that. Okay, and we'll check this main gear back here. Same thing, we're checking for any brake leaks, and nope, I don't see any fluid, so we're good to go there. We'll also check this aileron here. Looking good, looking good. Now the flaps we can't check because we don't have any hydraulics on at the moment, so they're not going to move. So we'll just leave that out. Make sure we have nav lights on this side. Yes, we do. And we'll also make sure that we have landing light there. All right, so everything checks out. Sweet. Well, I don't know about you all, but I'd say it's time to go start this puppy up. So let me hop on the wing here. As you can see, we have no back seat in this, but I'm going to go ahead and get myself inside. Now, the only weird thing about this aircraft is I could not find a way to bring this canopy down manually. There's no switch or clickable spot on there. I don't know why that is, but that's an area of opportunity for BFDG. So to get the canopy down, we will simply click that. There we go. And actually, now that we're in, we'll go ahead and put the pilot in, so that way it'll match where we are. Okay, now the mirrors. The mirrors are currently off. They don't seem to be doing what they're supposed to be doing, but normally you would see 2 reflections, one here and one here. But the only weird part about it is they're at an angle, which if you know anything about mirrors, you know mirrors don't work that way. Even if the mirror itself is angled, the reflection is still right side up. But this is also a notorious FPS hog, so I'm kind of glad it's not working right now. We'll go ahead and turn it off because I would not like to lose all my FPS. Alright, so that is everything there. And let's see, I guess I will have to see if I can remember the startup procedure from memory. It is a little bit different from the Texan II. So you'll notice that all the switches are labeled differently from in the Texan II. And of course, we've got a full glass cockpit here, which also includes an FMC, which is the default X-Plane FMC. Okay, but to get things started here, we're going to need to put the battery on. And already we got that loud noise. We are also going to need to have the PFD and MFDs on, and I'm going to turn on the avionics master so that way we can see all of our numbers. Let's get some lights going. Nav light will turn you on, beacon will turn you on, and then back here, this is probably one of the more important switches. This is the fuel cutoff. When it is in the up position, the fuel is cut off. So we're going to need to put it to the down position, and then what I will usually do is close this so that way it stays in place. You don't have to do it, but it's just for peace of mind for myself why I do it that way. Alright, we will get our weather and then set our barometer in a minute here. Okay, let's see what kind of caution and warning lights we have. Generator and oil pressure. Okay, well that's understandable because we don't have the engines on. Or engine, singular. Okay, AC inverters we won't need just yet. That's the generator, we won't need that just yet. Recirculating fan, air conditioning, all of that we don't need just yet. So it sounds like our next task is going to be to get a good start on this engine. We'll keep the parking brakes on. We'll turn on the main pumps. By default, the auxiliary fuel pumps are on, so we'll leave that exactly where it is. We'll flip the ignition switch on, and I'm going to zoom out here so I can see the prop move. And actually, now would be a great time to show you the other thing that I have to show you. Okay, so the other thing that I'm going to be showcasing here today in this episode is a little product that you've probably heard some buzz about recently called XPRealistic. I got this thing. It's about 20 bucks on the XPRealistic website, and what it does for you is it'll add things like head movement, camera movement, as well as various sounds both in and out of the cockpit. To activate it, you would normally go to your plugins menu, and it works with Fly with Lua, so you have to have Fly with Lua installed. But you will see that it says right here, XPRealistic Pro. Now what I have done is I've also bound it to one of my keybinds, so I use Control M, and that pops up the menu. So this is your basic menu. There are still a couple of bugs with this. Every now and then some of the lines will disappear, as you can see right now. I'm not quite sure what's causing that, but I'm assuming it's probably a bug. So for any aircraft that you have in your hangar, you can enable this thing. So we're going to click that. And you see it says XPRealistic is loading. And what it's done is it started the cockpit noises. Since we have the AC conditioner running, you can hear that in the background. But I'm just going to run through some of the other things that you can do here. So you have airport atmosphere, which you've got multiple airport selections for the varying types of airports. We're going to take a quick listen as to what this airport sounds like by going outside. So you can hear birds chirping, you can hear crickets. Every now and then you'll hear like a GA plane flying overhead, that sort of thing. Really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. All right, let's get back inside and I'll continue telling you about it. Okay, so some of the other things that you can do with this. Aside from setting the atmosphere, you can set engine sounds. For example, if you have a thrust reverser, you can have it give you a specific sound when it's activated. We do have a prop reverser, but it's probably not going to sync up properly, so we won't bother to use that. There are other things that you can do. For example, engine start. It will allow the chassis to shake, as well as give you specific sounds, you know, like all the things rattling around while the engine's starting. Same thing goes for engine stop and various engine vibrations while the aircraft is up and running. Environment, this one is really cool. I love this. If it were raining, you have varying volumes of rain that you could have going on here. I'm going to show you this. That's why I kind of moved it up. Where it says preview, right now it's set to no rain. Listen to what happens when we start adding rain to this. And it varies depending on how much rain is actually falling, which is so neat. Alright, so we'll go ahead and turn that back off. Okay, and what other things do we have? Environment, rain, turbulence. If we're going through a lot of turbulence, you'll hear a squeaky rattle. Wind, different wind sounds. Everything's pretty self-explanatory. It's real easy to set up. Sounds for whenever the flaps are out or whenever the gear is out. When the flaps are stressing out, when you're about to stall, you know, that sort of thing. It's got sounds for almost everything, or pretty much everything. And then one of my favorite things too, when you're braking, you know, your head naturally moves. Same thing for G-force effects, and if you're in flight turning, it will actually turn ahead of you. We're going to be seeing that when we do our little flight here. So there we go. We got rudder, we got touchdown, which will of course shake you all around if you land rough. I'll try to experiment with that. All right, so yes, as you can see, we've got a lot of different options that we can add to that. And if you have track IR, you can make it work with it. Also, X camera, which I do have, but I just haven't installed. You can make it work in concert with that as well. All right, so there you go. That is XPRealistic, and we'll be taking a much closer look at that momentarily. But for now, let's go ahead and get our engine started up. This is the starter switch here, but I also have it bound to my joystick, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the button. There we go. Looks like we got a good engine start. You'll notice the little shimmy and shake. That's XPRealistic at work. All right, now one thing you will have noticed, it suddenly got a lot louder in here. Well, we have ways that we can deal with that, and that's going back to the BFDG menu. You'll notice there's a little thing here that says earplugs. Watch what happens when we click it. Night and day difference. This is awesome. I love this. This is great. Okay, so we're pretty much done with that. Oh, wait, we need to disconnect our GPU. There we go. All right, GPU should be gone. And while we're at it, we'll get all the rest of the systems up and running. So AC inverters, turn you on. Generator, we'll turn you on and cover you up. Radio, SMS, recirculating fan. We've already got the AC running, so we're good to go there. We'll get our taxi lights on. We'll check our engine gauges, make sure everything is looking good. Yep, everything's a little low, so I'm going to give it a quick run up. You notice the vibration. That's XPRealistic for you. So yeah, we'll give it a quick run up here and get our oil temperature up and our oil pressure. Now while that is going on, I'll show you some of the other stuff here. So we'll get the upfront controls, or UFC, as well as the nav. There is no way to align your navigation system, so you just kind of got to pretend that it's being aligned. And then we have various other buttons here. Cruise, airspeed, warning reset is the bottom button, which we don't need. The other cool little thing, you can see there's a HUD. Ta-da! And we can also set up nav aids for said HUD, which is basically just our radio frequency and the ADF. And I think our altitude is a little bit off, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the HUD while I'm taxiing, because it actually does kind of get in the way. And let's see, we're going to want to fix that. Right now we're set to 29904, so let me put our radio to COM 1. And I will remind you that the frequency for Rostraver here is 118.475. So we'll flip that on. Now I do notice, I don't know if this is user error or if there's actually a bug in this. I can't hear the audio for the weather anymore. I don't know what's up with that. I haven't figured out exactly which button I need to hit to get some volume going. But while I'm here, let me go ahead and get the transponder to standby. So yes, we've got 1200. Okay, so it says that our wind is 240 at 10, visibility more than 10, few clouds, and the important part, altimeter 3006. So we're going to set that here, and we're going to watch it change here. So 3006. That's 3, that's 5, that's 7. Whoop, little too far. Little too far. There we go. 3006. Alright, so we are set. So we can go ahead and take that frequency back off. And that'll get rid of our radio. This thing, of course, does have autopilot, and it does have a full FMC. If you press the nav button on the MFD, There's your FMC right there, so you can punch in any route that you currently have saved in X-Plane, or you can make your own route with your own nav aids and so on and so forth. It will, of course, show up on the map. If you use the PFD here, you'll see the standard X-Plane map. This will show all the information that's in the FMC. We won't need either of those because we're basically just going to stay in a neighborhood here. So we'll go ahead and turn all of that back off. Alright, and I think everything is pretty much set to go. Strobe light will leave you off. Formation lights will leave you off. Ignition, we need to turn you off. Okay, let me see. What kind of caution warning lights do we have here? There's a light here that says battery temp. That is normal. That's supposed to disappear in about 2 to 3 minutes after startup. If it does not, you have a problem. You're going to need to turn the engine off and call maintenance. But I don't know about you, but I think we are just about ready to go. So let me go ahead and give us flaps to take off. And again, that sound is coming from XPRealistic. It is not coming from this aircraft itself. It's being overridden by that. Alright, I would say we're just about set. So, let me go ahead and turn our parking brakes off. And we're going to head west. That-a-way. Or actually, technically, that would be east. But we're going to take off to the west. Okay. Now, one of the things that you're going to notice as I'm taxiing here is that my head will actually change direction from time to time. Like as we're going around this left turn, you'll see I slightly look to the left. That again is XPRealistic. That's some of the stuff that this thing will do for you. Speaking of which, I'm going to need to make a sharp right turn here. Now I've deliberately limited the amount of distance that my head can travel when taxiing. The reason why I do that is because I have shortcuts set up on my joystick for both left glance and right glance. So we really don't need to turn our head that much when I can just do something like that. Okay, so we should be at our runway momentarily, so I am going to go to the outside view for the time being. And I'll be right back, provided I can stay on the center line. Okay, so we're getting close to the end of the runway. We're going to need to slow down. Wow, looks like we got a pretty stiff breeze there. And it's slightly crosswind as well. That's going to make takeoff fun. Okay, so we'll pull up to the hold short here. We'll check for traffic, and then we will do the last bit of our pre-takeoff checks here. Alright, so nothing coming in to the left, nothing coming in to the right, and let's go ahead and get our landing lights on, as well as our strobe lights. Okay, strobe lights are on. We'll leave the formation lights off, we won't need those, and we'll set our transponder to altitude, or on in this case. Okay, we're pretty much set to go, so let's go. Brakes off. Now, I did not cut to Sky Vector because I do not have a flight plan. All we're doing is just flying around the area, so this is going to be a relatively short flight. I really didn't want to get into anything too serious. I just kind of wanted to show you how this plane functions, as well as how XPRealistic works in tandem with this aircraft. Okay. But with that having been said, you know exactly what it's time for, folks. Brakes down and throttles up. Rotate speed is around 100, so we're right there. You can already see the effects of that crosswind. Let's go ahead and get our gear up. And our flaps. And there we go. We are airborne. Just like that. And yes, so all those sounds that you're hearing, that is all XPRealistic. That is what it does for you. Absolutely amazing stuff. The quality of audio and the way that they mix it in is so seamless that it just sounds like it belongs. It sounds so natural. I can only imagine what it would be like to have an Oculus Rift on and then hear these sounds, which, by the way, the Oculus Rift is next on my to-buy list. But yeah, you'll see that as we make slight turns here, our head angle changes. And as a matter of fact, yep, it's time. It had to be done, folks. Oh, but wait, there's more. Let's give it a little bit of airspeed here. And let's pull a loop. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Alright, you know what? I think I want to fly out to Finleyville since it's not that far off, and what I'll do there is a touch and go, so that way I can show you what it sounds like and what the head movement is like when you actually come down and land. So let me see. Finleyville should be... there it is, directly ahead. It's over by the HUD. Alright, so I'm going to cut the power back here. Oh, you know what I should show you? Stalls. Okay, so let's go ahead and drop the power here. Keep the nose high. Watch how the sound changes when you get ready to stall. That is the sound of a stick shaker. It's got all of that built in here. This is just so freaking cool. Alright, but we do need to see if we can pull off a touch and go at Finleyville, and since it's directly ahead of us, I'm going to need to lose a lot of altitude and airspeed. So I've got throttle to idle. We do have speed brakes on this, so I'm going to go ahead and pull those out. Now you'll notice it got really loud in here. That's because of all the drag from having the gear out and the flaps out. And remember, everything here is dynamic. Alright, but the real question is going to be, can I come down without hitting any of those trees? This is going to get close, folks. This is going to be close. Oh boy. Okay, we're clear of the trees. There's our runway. Come on, baby. Straighten up, straighten up. Okay, instead of a touch and go, this is going to be more like a bounce. So there we go, and let's get out of here. Woo! Gear up, flaps up. Not exactly my best landing, folks. But you know what? The key that I want you to take away from that little endeavor that we just did is the head shake that happened once we touched down, the sounds that happened, and of course once we came back up, the drag how it suddenly came back into play, as well as putting the gear up and the flaps up and how it automatically removed the sound. And remember, you can use this with just about every aircraft that you have in your hangar. There is one notable exception. While they do have profiles set up for jets, turboprops, piston engines, and so on, there is currently no profile set up for helicopters. Now, I don't know if that's an oversight on their part, or if it's just something that they're still working on and it's coming later. But either way, I think that is a golden opportunity. If they can add something like that in there for helos, this little program will be perfect. Alright, so there's Finleyville. I'm sure they're probably cursing my name right now. Came down without clearance. Not that it matters, because they're on Unicom anyway. Okay, so let's head back to Rostraver, and we'll bring this bird back in, because I really didn't want this to be too long of a video. I just wanted to give enough time for you to appreciate what it is that this can do. And also, I wanted to show off this aircraft. Because I can. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that from the outside as we make our way back to Rostraver. Okay, let's lose a little bit of airspeed here. You can see the wind has definitely picked up a little bit, and that is of course due to the fact that we are now flying with the wind. Okay, so Rostraver is up ahead. Let's see if we can lose a little bit of altitude here. And we took off to the west, so we're going to need to land to the west. So let me begin a little bit of a downwind leg here. I love how natural it feels for this thing to just automatically start looking to the left a little bit here. And bear in mind, it doesn't interfere with your standard controls. So like I said, if you have track IR on, you can still move your track IR, your head basically, wherever you want, and it won't interfere with what's going on here. Or in my case, I can use my glance right, and it'll still allow me to do my glance right. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome stuff. Okay, I think this is a pretty good altitude for us here, and our speed is a little bit low, so I'm going to go ahead and drop flaps 1. So incoming drag noise. Give it a little bit more throttle since our airspeed's going to drop a little. And we're about midfield. Okay, I think what I will do is there is a river up ahead. I'll go out to that river and then turn around and come back in. I might want to bring us up a little bit higher though. What are we at? 2440? We'll bring it up to about 2500. Now right below the PFD, which is of course on the left side of your screen, you will also see an autopilot. That also works. You can utilize the autopilot to fly this aircraft. And of course it'll work hand in hand with the FMC that is built into this thing. Alright, I'm not seeing the airport now, so let's go ahead and bring it back in. Okay, our river's coming up ahead. Let's take a quick look from outside before we make this turn. Okay, so we are going to make this turn over the river here, and bring it around the final. We can probably start our descent as well, so I'll drop us down to about 400 feet per minute. Quick glance to this side. Oh wow, we are passing up the airport. Okay, so we're gonna need to make a bit sharper of a turn here. Alright, there we go. There we go. We'll bring her back around. And we'll drop the gear while we're at it. Wow, that is really loud in my ears. Okay, but there's our airport. And we're a little bit high on glide slope, but we should be good. Let's take a quick look at the BelGeode cam. Once again, I've got trees in my way, but I think we should be able to surpass those. We're still a little bit high on a glide slope, but I think we should be able to pull it off. What I really should do is trim for speed. However, since we're this close to the runway, I don't think it's going to be that critical an issue for me. Alright, we're back on glide slope. And we're skimming over the treetops. And let's bring this bird home. Okay, throttle to idle. A little bit of a flare. And we're down. We'll hit the brakes real quick. Very nice. Very nice. So I gotta say, BFDG has done a fabulous job with his Super Tucano, or Super Tejano, I should say. Couple that with XPRealistic, and we've got ourselves a pair of winners right here. Alright, let me stop here because I am going to need to turn off our landing lights. Strobe off, landing lights off. Okay, flaps, you can come up. There we go. And let's taxi back over to our parking spot. So there you go, folks. That is the two things that I wanted to show you today. And I have to say, at least as far as XPRealistic goes, this is a game changer. This adds so much more immersion to the flight sim itself. And I can't wait to test it out with helicopters. I imagine you can probably make a custom-made profile that will work with helicopters. It'll be interesting to see, so that will be my next test, excuse me. Where did we park? I think we parked over here. Okay, you know what? I want to back into my parking spot, so in order to do that, first I've got to head in. So let me see. If I turn around right here, should be good to go. Right there is good. Okay. And of course I can't back in because I don't have a tow truck, but that will do it for me. Alright, so let's go ahead and turn everything off, and then I will call it done. Easiest way to do that is just going to be to hit the fuel cutoff. There we go, that little shimmy when the engine gets turned off. That is so freaking cool. So yeah, the links to everything is going to be in the description below. The only thing that will not be in the description below just yet will be the links to this livery that I've created. As soon as I have it packaged up, I'll put it up for people to download if you're interested. Other than that, I guess just wait and see. But as always, I want to thank you for watching. This has been BelGeode, and I have been flying in the BFDG, that's Brazilian Fighter Development Group's Embraer 314, otherwise known as the A29A, and you also get the B model with it as well, which basically the only difference between the two, the B model has 2 people in the aircraft. Alright, but if you've enjoyed what you have seen, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. I will be back with some more goodness at some point in time really, really soon. So stay tuned, stay cool, and I will catch you all later. Alrighty, folks. Ciao.